Prologue, the edge where shadows weep. To wield the shadow is to marry the abyss. But even the abyss forgets its children. Inscription on the obsidian shard, last relic of the Shadow's Edge Brotherhood. The shattered steps stretch endlessly, a jagged mosaic of fractured plateaus and yawning chasms where the sky itself seems wounded. Here, sunlight splinters into prismatic shards, casting illusions that dance like phantoms over the scorched earth. It is a land where truth bleeds into myth, and the air thrums with the whispers of ancient, half-remembered wars. Amid this desolation, Tristan walks, a silhouette against the bleeding horizon. The Blademaster of the Vale, they call him, though titles are brittle things here. His cloak, woven from twilight, ripples as if alive, and his blade, Eclipse, hangs at his side like a sliver of void-given form. It is a weapon that does not gleam but drinks, swallowing light and the echoes of the lives it claims. His curse is a hollowing, with every kill, a fragment of his soul dissolves, leaving only the ash of forgotten faces. Chapter 1, The Faceless Apprentice. Tristan's earliest memory was the sting of volcanic ash on his tongue. The Gloamhold Monastery, carved into the weeping stone of Mount Vareth-Kul, was a cathedral of shadows. Its arches coiled like ribbons of a long-dead leviathan, and its corridors echoed with the drip of eternal groundwater, a sound the acolytes came to dread, for it marked the passage of time in a place where time itself was a heresy. The Faceless Ones, their masks obsidian mirrors etched with sigils that writhed under one's gaze, were less teachers than forces of nature. They moved soundlessly, their presence announced only by the chill that preceded them, as if winter trailed in their wake. Acolytes were not taught, they were broken. At 7 cycles old, Tristan endured the trial of stillness, buried in a coffin of basalt, his lungs burning as he sucked air through a reed while the weight of the earth pressed him into darkness. At 10, he navigated the razor labyrinth, a honeycomb of tunnels lined with blades that thirsted for the slightest tremor of fear. He emerged scarred but alive, his blood mingling with the rust of countless predecessors. What sustained him was the lullaby, a melody that curled through his dreams like smoke. The Grand Faceless, a wraith with eyes like milky quartz, would tilt his head when Tristan hummed it, as if listening to a ghost. The day Eclipse chose him, the monastery trembled. The vault beneath Gloamhold was no mere chamber but a throat of the mountain, its walls pulsing with the heat of dormant magma. When Tristan grasped the blade's hilt, the lullaby vanished, replaced by a silence so profound it ached. Yet in sleep, the song returned, now threaded with new verses, words in a language of sighs and serpentine vowels, urging him toward a destiny even the Brotherhood feared. Chapter 2, The Dagger's Bargain. The Sunspear's armor glowed like captured daylight, a blasphemy in the gloom of the steppes. Tristan's strike was flawless, Eclipse piercing the knight's chest with a sound like shattering glass. But as the man fell, his memories erupted into Tristan's mind, a daughter's laughter echoing through sunlit orchards, the tang of sea salt on the lips of a lover, a prayer murmured as the knight's own blade pierced another heart. Tristan staggered, clutching his skull as the flood subsided, leaving him gasping. The Brotherhood declared him tainted, their pursuit relentless. Yet Eclipse, now a chorus of stolen voices, whispered a truth: you are more than a blade. You are a vessel. Chapter 3, The Veil's Price. The shadow arts gnawed at Tristan's essence. Mirrors showed only a hollow where his face should be, a smudge of darkness with eyes like dying stars. His voice, once steady, frayed into echoes, as if multiple souls fought to speak through him. In the market of Lether, a crone grasped his wrist, her tears cutting through grime. You have my son's laugh. He fled, her grief a brand on his conscience. The fragments haunting him sharpened, the woman in white, her form blurred as though seen through frosted glass, stood atop a cliff, her voice a blade of wind. The shrouded citadel holds your truth. The obsidian throne loomed in visions, its steps littered with shadowy petitioners, their whispers a cacophony of pleas and curses. And always, the lullaby, now a dirge, its notes twisting into the growl of the abyss. Chapter 4, The Symphony of Knives. Lether rose from the coast like a necropolis, its salt-eaten towers leaning as if whispering secrets. The Iron Covenant's banner, a serpent coiled around a dagger, flapped above its gates. Carl Draven, mercenary lord, received Tristan in a hall reeking of blood and ale. "Kill the Thorn sisters," he growled, "and the shard is yours." The sisters were no mere targets, their bodies were tangled with thorned vines that pulsed like veins, their roots anchored in the veil. To sever them, Tristan would need to cut not flesh but the threads of fate, a feat that would cost him more than memory. Chapter 5, The Memory Thief. The shrouded citadel was a nightmare-given stone, spires of black glass twisted into impossible angles, their peaks lost in a storm of swirling shadows. The Weaver of Echoes awaited in its heart, a being of shifting smoke and fractured light. "Eclipse is a chain," it hissed, tendrils brushing Tristan's mind. "Give it to me, and your past will breathe again." The lullaby surged, a tempest in his blood. Tristan saw the truth, the Weaver's hunger, the Brotherhood's lies, the blade's parasitic bond. With a scream that tore the air, he slashed not the Weaver, but the silken thread binding his soul to Eclipse. The blade exploded into shards, each a prism of stolen lives. The citadel collapsed, and Tristan fell, remembering. Chapter 6, The Shattered Symphony. The shards of Eclipse were alive. They called to Tristan in his dreams, whispers from across the shattered steps, each fragment a jagged star humming with stolen memories. One pulsed in the vault of a sunken temple, guarded by serpentine priests who fed its sacrifices. Another sang from the fist of a warlord king, whose conquests painted the dunes red. The largest piece, though, had been claimed by the veil itself, a sliver embedded in the heart of the weeping wastes, where reality frayed like old cloth. Tristan's journey led him first to the Temple of Drowned Stars, a crumbling ziggurat half swallowed by a tar-black lake. The priests, their skin etched with constellations, barred his path. "The shard is a god now," they intoned. "It eats regrets." Tristan fought not with blades but with truth, recounting the shard's memories, the warlord's first kill, the priest's forsaken lover. As their resolve cracked, he plunged into the murk, retrieving the shard from a nest of drowned bones. It seared his palm, flooding him with the terror of those who died clinging to it. Yet the true trial awaited in the court of Collar the Bloodied, the warlord whose armies choked the trade roads. Collar wore the shard as a crown, its darkness twisting his mind into a rotted thing. "You've come to kneel," he rasped, his throne a cairn of skulls. Tristan's reply was the lullaby, sung raw and true. The shard screamed, slicing Collar's brow as it flew to Tristan's hand. The warlord's empire crumbled with a sigh. But the final shard, the one festering in the weeping wastes, demanded a price even Eclipse had feared. Chapter 7, The Weeping Wastes. The wastes were not a place but a wound. Here, the veil bled into the world, birthing phantoms of might-have-beens, cities that never fell, lovers never lost, wars never waged. Tristan trekked through hallucinations, his mind fraying as ghosts clawed at him. A boy with his eyes, a son he never had, pleaded for a story. A version of himself, still clad in the Brotherhood's shadows, offered Eclipse whole again. "You could be boundless," it hissed. At the epicenter stood the shard spire, a needle of obsidian throbbing with wrongness. The shard here had grown, metastasizing into a grotesque altar. Around it knelt figures, not human, not shadow, their bodies flickering between forms. The forgotten, souls trapped in the veil's maw. They turned as one, voices merging, "You abandoned us. You left your memories to rot." Tristan realized the truth, these were the voices Eclipse had consumed. Every life he'd taken, every memory he'd shed, had been dumped here, festering into a hive mind of anguish. To claim the shard, he'd have to face them all. The lullaby was his shield. He sang it hoarsely, the melody intertwining with the forgotten's wails. Some recoiled, others wept. A woman stepped forward, the knight's wife, her face now clear, and pressed a hand to his chest. "You carry our weight. But you do not have to bear it alone." As the shard loosened, the veil convulsed. The forgotten surged into Tristan, not as attackers but as allies, their memories a tempest that scorched his soul. When he gripped the shard, the spire exploded, and the wastes healed. Chapter 8, The Crownless King. The abyss was done waiting. It poured into the world through Mount Vareth-Kul, the Brotherhood's extinct volcano now vomiting a tide of living darkness. The Gloamhold Monastery was its bastion, the faceless ones long usurped by a figure seated on the obsidian throne, the grand faceless, his mask cracked, his body fused with tendrils of void. "You were meant to be our king," he boomed, voice echoing with the abyss's hunger. The perfect empty vessel. Tristan stood at the head of an army he never sought, the Iron Covenant, the Forgotten, even the Thorn Sisters, their thorns now blooming with pale flowers. Karl Draven grinned, tossing him the obsidian shard. "For luck," he grunted. The battle was a symphony of shadows. Tristan danced through the Brotherhood's ranks, the shards of Eclipse guiding his hands, each strike liberating a trapped memory. The Grand Faceless lashed out, but the lullaby, now sung by 1,000 forgotten voices, paralyzed him. In the throne room, Tristan faced the abyss's heart, a pulsating orb of void. The Grand Faceless writhed, half consumed. "Join us," he begged. "Or die human." Tristan's choice was a whisper. He plunged the obsidian shard into the orb, not to destroy it, but to remember. The shard's inscription flared, "To wield the shadow is to marry the abyss," and he recited the rest, words buried in the lullaby, "But even the abyss may love." The void recoiled, then stilled. The orb crystallized into a starless night sky, beautiful and terrible. The abyss, for the first time, understood fear. Epilogue, the nameless dawn. The mountain sleeps again. Tristan tends a garden now, on a slope overlooking the shattered steps. The soil is rich with volcanic ash, the plants, strange hybrids of shadow and bloom, curl toward the sunlight he no longer fears. The shards of Eclipse are gone, scattered once more, not as weapons, but as seeds. Let them grow into something new. Visitors come. A knight's daughter, seeking apprenticeship. A forgotten, now solid, bearing wine from a city that remembers. Even Karl Draven, who leaves a dagger stuck in the soil like a rose. The woman in white comes too. Her face is his mother's. She says nothing, but her smile is a balm. At night, Tristan still hears the abyss murmuring beyond the veil. It licks its wounds. It learns. But so does he. When the wind carries the faintest hum of the lullaby, he joins in. Not as a weapon. Not as a king. As a man.